All right. And Darcy, I think you're going to end up putting us, spotlighting folks as we talk tonight, probably. Is that right? What's happening?
That's right. Look at you, spotlight.
Oh, well, then I will take the spotlight immediately. And I want to welcome everybody here. I know that we've had some folks who've been joining and mingling throughout for the last hour. And we've got other folks joining now for our formal presentation component. So I'm going to say a welcome to everybody again. My name is Sharon Sutherland. I'm the Executive Director of Mediate BC, and I'm really excited to see everybody here today. I am personally joining from the traditional and ancestral lands of the Tsawwassen First Nation. When we first joined the room, many of us acknowledged the lands that we were on in the chat, and I'm simply going to offer that opportunity to everyone who has joined us as well to continue to recognize the first peoples of the lands that we are on, and to make a really conscious effort of making that a thought in our minds as we participate today. We're going to move on to what is now the formal part of this evening's session. And I'm going to start off, very quickly tell you that we're going to spend a little bit of time now doing a little bit of just a few conversational pieces, ultimately leading to the Susanna Jani Prize. But for those of you who may not know and are here primarily because of the prize presentation, we'll let you know that we will transition right after that into a session, a presentation by Kari Markin and Mark Bussey, which will be a really exciting start to a conference for tomorrow too. So if you have interest in things about creative ways to engage in space, I do encourage any of you who are here for the presentation to consider staying on afterwards and joining us in that session as well. So we will transition very directly into that, and I want to give you a heads up that that's going to happen. I'm now going to introduce our two board leaders, Julie Daum and Robin Phillips, and I'm going to invite them to take on some responsibilities to begin the conversation. Thanks, Julie and Robin. I'll let you talk for yourself.
Thanks so much, Sharon. Hi, everybody. For those of you I haven't met, my name is Robin Phillips, and I'm delighted to be here with you this evening with my co-chair, Julie Daum. So I think I'll just say that I am your new co-chair of Mediate BC, and I'm very grateful that I have the mentorship and the guidance of Julie to be chairing this fantastic organization with you. And we're very pleased to be here with you all today. Julie?
Yeah, so thanks, Robin. I am also super thrilled to have a co-chair for Mediate BC, all these kinds of events. And those who don't know me, Julie Daum here, previous chair, longtime mediator and board member since 2017. And I am joining this Zoom tonight from the traditional and ancestral territory of the Lheidli, otherwise known as Prince George. And we're super thrilled to be here and to welcome all of the Mediate BC roster mediators, former board members as Lori's chat pops up, and current board members, staff, and friends and family who are joining us as well tonight. I really want to acknowledge the work of all of the board members for Mediate BC, and particularly a couple of past board members. Last year, Dan, why am I blanking on Dan's last name?
Williams.
Williams, sorry. Dan, Vice Chair Dan He retired last year, and I have to say he was such a mainstay of the board, always showing up to events, always putting in the work and really helping us along. And I want to acknowledge him. I also want to acknowledge Jim Vilvang, who I think is registered tonight and should be here, that he's been also a steadfast board member, contributing to the board and of Mediate BC and the direction that we've now gone. So that's who I would like to thank. Robin?
Thanks so much, Julie. Yeah, and sort of on the theme of transitions, you know, Mediate BC is always looking to, you know, we continue to grow, we continue to embrace new direction, and to try to be a holistic and diverse organization and a diverse board as well. And as we, you know, say goodbye to some really valued board members, we say hello and welcome to some new board members. I believe that Virginia Young is here with us today. She's just joined the board, and we're very thrilled to have her. So welcome, Virginia. And we also welcome David Wotherspoon to the board as well, who you know, comes with a particular background and set of experiences that we think is going to be very helpful to our board moving forward, and hopefully to everybody who is part of the Mediate BC organization and everyone here today. We've also had some changes in our staffing, some again growth and new development, and I think now perhaps I'll turn it back over to Sharon to speak to some of those changes.
And I'm going to do this very quickly, Robin, but I do appreciate the opportunity to just very publicly thank our staff, because we don't always get the opportunity to do that. I think we try very often to speak to how dedicated our staff is to the work that we do, and how available and supportive they are for our mediators and for the community at large. But I do want to acknowledge that we're having a lot of growth, as Robin said, and the consequence of a lot of growth means that I'm going to acknowledge a couple of people who are continuing. You all know, I'm going to say you all know it. I mean, I shouldn't say that, I shouldn't presume, but most of you know Ann Lee, who has moved into a new role in communications manager, and we're so thrilled and grateful for all of her time and guidance and support throughout all of years. I mean, we're talking 14 years, I think, with Anne. Tamara Ziemer is also continuing in her role, and then as roster manager. But then we have this incredible new group of people coming in, and I hope you had a chance to meet some of them tonight. I want to identify and call out Gina Delamare, who's come in as Director of Operations and Finance, Hannah Stanley, who is taking on a new role on Monday as our Child Protection Coordinator, which we're really excited to see her move into. Sierra Wells, who many of you know, who has moved from being a child protection mediator to being a senior navigator, collaborative decision-making navigator in our new project supporting racialized families to navigate the child welfare process. Badushi Raman, who is joining, has just started with the organization yesterday as our other navigator, and Rebecca Poku, who joined us earlier in the year. And you'll probably not see Rebecca a lot in front of things, but she is very much behind a really renewed and energized social media presence, and she is also assisting in the roster role as well. We've got and I'm going to also express immense gratitude for somebody who's leaving, isn't here tonight, but will be visible tomorrow making his goodbyes. And so those of you who know and necessarily love Jeremy Brooks, who has been our child protection program manager for the last couple of years and has made an enormous impact on what we're doing. Jeremy is leaving the organization tomorrow to go to a really new and exciting opportunity for him. And he will tell you all about it if you want to join him on Instagram Live tomorrow at 12:30. He has some exciting announcements to make. And I have a note saying I screwed up, and I totally screwed up. I recognize Gina Delamare, who is a co-chair on the Calls to Action Committee and is not the director of finance. Gina Camilleri is, and absolutely nobody else noticed that, right? Nobody. But the fact is, I have to keep using Gina D and Gina C in my email all the time now, but grateful to both. So thank you, everybody. And I'm going to pass it back over to Julie and Robin to move on with our exciting announcements tonight.
Thank you. Yes, I am so thrilled. The next part of the agenda is we're going to talk about this year's 2022 Susanna Jani Award. The recipient of this year's award is an Indigenous lawyer and mediator who, through her pursuit of implementing positive changes to the justice system for the benefit of Indigenous clientele in their communities, made significant contributions to mediation and expanded its use in support of reconciliation. I really want to congratulate, I'm so thrilled and honored to be the one to announce Colleen Spier as the winner of this year's Susanna Jani Award. I'll just say a couple more words about her. As legal counsel, finding that the adversarial court system didn't serve Indigenous clients well, she pursued formal mediation training, and 2011 was named one of the first Mediate Indigenous child protection mediators on the roster. She quickly became sought after as participants benefited from and appreciated her trauma-informed and culturally sensitive approach. She models Indigenous values in her work and makes contributions to mediation by sharing her experiences, teachings, and her connections with elders to inspire her colleagues to apply culturally relevant practices when working with Indigenous clients. She generously volunteers her time and was recognized by the Victoria Bar Association for exceptional volunteer contributions. She is often sought after as a facilitator, presenter, or panelist as events. And she has a variety of volunteer leadership positions with the Canadian Bar Association, Access to Justice BC, and the BC College of Social Workers. And she has the goal of ensuring participants in the justice system understand how to work with Indigenous clientele in a collaborative and respectful manner while utilizing alternate dispute resolution whenever appropriate.
Maybe I'll just say a couple more words. Of course, Colleen's accomplishments are too numerous for me to go through here in this moment, but I will say that Colleen continues to use her knowledge and skills, the skills that she's acquired through mediations to support reconciliation in a variety of ways. Since 2015, she's worked in a variety of capacities with First Nations, Métis Nation BC, and the provincial and federal government, utilizing conflict resolution processes to advance reconciliation between parties. One significant and notable example of this is the work that she did in 2016, where she used her conflict resolution skills to right a 20-year wrong when a Métis organization had accidentally disrespected the chiefs and communities of 9 South Island First Nations. She took the initiative to bring the parties together to explore the possibility of reconciliation. And after a community ceremony where a public apology was offered, she worked with the parties to develop a joint protocol agreement. Due to the past conflicts, this protocol agreement took 2 years to develop, but it was the first of its kind between the Métis organization and First Nations. And it was her reputation as a woman of integrity and the dispute resolution skills she honed as a mediator that opened the door for these conversations to occur and allowed her to lead the conversations forward to a landmark collaborative resolution in 2018. Colleen now continues to further the field of mediation and to specifically support us here at Mediate BC through her participation, her valued participation in the Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action Committee of Mediate BC. And this is one of the ways where we seek to implement the calls to action into our work. I think that is probably enough for me. You're all here to hear from Colleen. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Colleen.
Nancy, Kiwa, good evening, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. And it was astronomically overwhelming when Julie actually made the phone call to me at home. And I recall looking at the phone and seeing this unknown number coming through like 3 or 4 times. And I was sort of ignoring the phone call, thinking it was probably spam. And then I finally answered it. And there was Julie, longtime friend, mentor, colleague. And I was just so thrilled. I think I'm still processing the event. But as everyone has heard now, Colleen Spier is my name. I'm Métis Cree from the Red River Settlement in Manitoba. And I just want to thank everyone so much. Anne, Robin, Julie, Sharon, the staff, the board at Mediate BC. Thank you for the introduction and kind words. And I'm honored to be here with all of you this evening, those I have known for years and those I have yet to meet. And I want to congratulate Mediate BC on the growth and the new directions that you're taking. I also wish to acknowledge that I'm joining you tonight from the Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, of whose lands I am an invited guest upon this evening. I'm currently attending our Restorative Justice Conference in Halifax, and I'm blessed to be joined in my hotel room this evening with a few friends and colleagues who, despite the fact it's 10:30 at night here for us on this side of the country, wanted to accompany me to this reception because they're crazy lawyer types. I have also extended invites to several people who I wanted to thank for sharing this evening with me, as I would not be where I am today without them. I'd like to start with my husband, Brian, my daughter, Caitlin, and my son, Jaden. Jaden, however, is unable to join us this evening as he's working his shift at Taco Time in Victoria. So for anyone that's in the area and is hungry, please feel free to go and hit him up for a 10% family and friends discount. My honorary family member, Kelly Lord, of whom I wouldn't be anywhere without. I also wish to thank my many friends, mentors, colleagues, and staff, without whom my many lofty ideas would never become reality. I would like to acknowledge a few of these people by name, but that in no way diminishes my appreciation for all of you who accepted my invitation and gave of your time to be with me this evening. I choose to mention the following people specifically, as your invitation indicated you are coming together tonight to celebrate growth, evolution, and changes that strengthen us. And the people I am taking space to acknowledge tonight are the people who strengthen me through providing their support, guidance, and sharing of knowledge. In addition, they are the change makers that inspire me to consistently reach higher. Hugh Breaker, who made history earlier today by being the first Sishat and even the first New Channel to speak in the BC legislature while the House was sitting. But we can also discontinue your access to this call if you keep making cheeky comments. Darlene Shackley, Kurt Sandstrom, the Honorable Judge Anya Brown, Wendy Lacusta, Julie Daum, Sharon Sutherland, Joan Cody, Bobby Pushinsky, and Jeremy Brooks, who always hold space for me and other Indigenous mediators so we can be our authentic selves. Marion Buller, Chancellor of the University of Victoria and Chief Commissioner for the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. Kimberly Murray, Canada's Special Interlocutor. The Honorable Judge Wendy Burnt, the Honorable Judge Jennifer Barrett, and I am beyond honored to have both the Honorable Chief Judge Melissa Gillespie and the Honorable Associate Chief Judge Susan Wishart with us this evening, both of whom I should tell you graciously accepted my invitation on less than 24 hours notice and somehow managed to fit my 15 minutes of fame tonight into their busy calendars. Thank you so much for being here. And with heartfelt thanks, I would also like to honor and share my gratitude to the Métis and First Nations elders and knowledge keepers who support me in doing my work in a good way. Phil and Giselle Lirondelle, Joanna Young, James Taylor, and Rebecca Hay. I'm so honored to be receiving the Susanna Jani Award this evening, and I wish to thank the nominator and the board of Mediate BC, because this award is an acknowledgement that I am doing the work that I am passionate about in a way that is respected by my colleagues and the profession. It is an acknowledgement that my ongoing contribution to the field of mediation is through the sharing of the knowledge I acquire, while constantly exploring opportunities to be innovative in expanding its use. My passion for conflict resolution initially arose from being a child caught in the middle of divorcing parents who used litigation for more than 4 years as a legal means to amplify their conflict. At 11 years old, I vowed to find a way to save other children from experiencing such trauma. Thus, As an adult, because they don't allow 11-year-olds to apply to law school, I decided to become a family law lawyer, believing I could influence separating parents by having them consider the impacts of their actions on their children, thinking ahead as we would through our Indigenous teachings to what you have before you and 7 generations after. While in law school, I completed a mediation course with a professor, likely not very well known to any of you here this evening, but I'll mention her name in any event, Sharon Sutherland. And she provided me with insight into the benefits of mediation in a variety of contexts, far beyond just family law. And I witnessed how mediation not only resolved conflicts, but created space for the healing of fractured individuals and relationships. I was called to the bar in 2008 and opened my law firm in 2010 so I could represent primarily Indigenous clients in child welfare matters. However, I quickly observed that the adversarial court process was not serving Indigenous people well, and especially not children. So I completed mediation training, and as Sharon said, in 2011 was appointed as one of the first Indigenous mediators to Mediate BC's child protection roster. I conducted mediations through to the end of 2018 when I accepted my current position as Executive Director of the Indigenous Justice Policy and Legislation Division within the provincial government, where I am leading the development and implementation of the BC First Nation Justice Strategy and the Métis Justice Strategy, aimed at reducing the overrepresentation of Indigenous people incarcerated and Indigenous children in care. Not much of an ambitious undertaking that one is. Just have to reconstruct the criminal justice system in a whole of government way across every impacted ministry at both the provincial and federal levels of government, and in a way that is trauma-informed, culturally distinct, and responsive, led by Indigenous people, and with the full acceptance and blessing and endorsement of the provincial cabinet. So what have I been doing for the past 3 years since leaving the roster? Well, I've been doing some heavy lifting that started with co-designing an Indigenous-led engagement and consultation process that was inclusive and provided space for cooperation from the 203 First Nations, the Métis Nation of BC, its 38 chartered communities, the Inuit, the urban Indigenous population, the provincial and federal governments, the judiciary, the defense bar, the BC Prosecution Service, and many of this province's Indigenous service providers. And as I was co-designing and implementing my approach to undertaking the significant work, it struck me, I'm not just facilitating discussions. I am conducting large-scale, multi-party, multi-session, interest-based mediation. Well, the sessions have actually spanned from 2019 to right now, so I think this is probably the longest mediation I've ever conducted, and probably should have ordered that second craft coffee from the venue. But in any event, despite the time it takes to do the work, I must continue to support the parties in understanding each other's sometimes shifting points of view, so that together the parties can advance reconciliation through transformative change. I would like to share a quote. Mediation and reconciliation work is about a profound quest for justice and social transformation, but at the same time, they are about service, solidarity, about exploring and rediscovering the human spirit that has been lost or shattered through human conflict, cruelty, ignorance, and greed. I see my mediation and reconciliation work, both past and present, as providing support to Indigenous people who are rediscovering their human spirits, spirits that were lost or shattered through the human conflict, cruelty, ignorance, and greed perpetrated upon them through colonization. I wish to circle back to the theme of tonight's reception, wherein you are gathering to celebrate growth, evolution, and changes that strengthen us. I hope by sharing with you my personal reflection on the evolution of mediation in my practice, that you too are inspired to grow and support the growth of mediation into other untapped realms, other non-conventional spaces that could benefit from conflict resolution processes, understanding that as mediators, you bring gifts that can and will have profound impacts on justice and social transformation. In closing, I wish to leave you with 2 additional quotes. The first is, we live in worlds we believe to exist. And I choose to believe that we exist in a world that supports conflict resolution in trauma-informed ways, that endeavors to do no harm, and in fact may actually repair harm. I choose to believe that that my 11-year-old self would be immensely proud of the work we do as mediators because, and here comes my final quote, conflict is inevitable, but combat is optional. Thank you, everyone, so much. I am in so much appreciation for the acknowledgement I am receiving today, and I thank you all for giving of your time to be with me this evening. Marcy, all my relations, thank you very much, and I wish you the best on your conference.
And I think I get to come in following that, Colleen, and all I'm going to say is we are so grateful to be here with you, and what a phenomenally deserved recognition. Something that I personally feel incredibly inspired. And I think if you've been able to, you may not have been able to watch the chat while you were talking to us, but it has just been a stream of, you are so inspirational, and you truly are, Colleen. So thank you so much for joining us here tonight. And with that, I am going to make what is going to be a possibly awkward transition, because I am going to transition us into the next part of the evening. But I do want to create a little bit of space here momentarily. I know that many people joined specifically to celebrate Colleen. And so we're going to just allow a couple of moments for people to contribute thoughts into the chat. And some folks, as Colleen, as you identified, some folks are really made time at the last second to join and celebrate you. And they may need to leave. And so we're going to allow that. But for those who are going to stay, I want to let you know we're going to go almost directly into what should be a very exciting conversation of creativity and connection, which really does follow very beautifully from what Colleen has said. So it would take just a moment, and if you want to share any thoughts in the chat with Colleen, and Colleen, if you want to say anything as folks are making themselves comfortable, please feel free.
Sharon and Anne, we're going to take this moment to stop recording.